I don't cook, I don't clean. That was her slogan. Queen Linda the Slay. The woman every girl wanted to be like. She had it all. Beauty, confidence, designer clothes, and a husband who adored her. Her long nails clicked proudly on her phone screen as she posted perfect selfies. Her wigs shone brighter than her smile, and her laughter echoed through luxury walls. To everyone watching online, Linda was living the dream. But the dream didn't last. Now, it was raining. The kind of heavy rain that makes the sky look sad. Inside a small, half-empty apartment, Queen Linda sat on the cold floor, staring at her reflection in a cracked mirror. The same nails she once flaunted were chipped and broken. Her hair was rough. Her expensive wigs lay scattered around her like fallen crowns. She had lost everything. Her husband, her home, her pride. And as thunder rolled over the city, she whispered bitterly, "Oh, my nails. I thought they made me special." Her husband's final words echoed in her mind. "Linda, beauty fades, but a lazy heart destroys everything." That morning, for the first time, she wished her hands had done more than just pose. She wished they had built something real. Before everything went wrong, Linda's life looked perfect from the outside. She was the kind of woman who turned heads wherever she went. Her tall frame, smooth caramel skin, and expensive clothes made people whisper when she passed. But it wasn't just her looks, it was the nails. Her nails were her pride, her trademark. 10 inches long, sharp, glossy, and painted in bright colors that changed every few days. On Monday, it was deep red. For power, she said. On Wednesday, gold with tiny rhinestones. For class. On weekends, she sometimes added sparkly gems that caught the sunlight like tiny diamonds. "Your nails are like art, Linda," her friends would say in admiration. She would smile proudly, wave her delicate fingers, and reply, "Of course, a queen must always shine." Linda had grown up in a modest home in Enugu, the daughter of a vegetable seller and a mechanic. Life was simple but hard. She often complained about her mother's rough hands and how she smelled of onions and palm oil after the market. Linda swore that one day she would never live like that. She would marry rich, wear silk dresses, and live a life of comfort. And then came David. David was the exact opposite of everything she had known. Calm, gentle, and hardworking, he was an electrical engineer with a small but growing business. He didn't have much, but he had big dreams and a bigger heart. They met at a friend's birthday party one warm Saturday night. Linda wore a silver gown that sparkled under the lights, her long nails painted in shining gold. She was trying to hold her glass of wine carefully when David walked up to her with a friendly smile. "Hi, I'm David," he said, offering his hand. Linda hesitated, then shook his hand awkwardly, careful not to chip her nail polish. David chuckled. "How do you manage with those nails?" Linda tilted her head proudly. "A queen doesn't manage," she maintains. Her answer made him laugh. To him, she was confident, lively, and bold. Everything his quiet world was missing. To Linda, David was steady, respectful, and charming. The kind of man who could give her the soft life she dreamed of. They started dating, and David treated her like glass. He opened doors, bought her gifts, and took her to restaurants she loved to post about online. Linda flooded her social media with their pictures. Hashtag power couple. Hashtag soft life queen. Hashtag love and luxury. 6 months later, they had a big wedding. The hall was filled with flowers, bright lights, and photographers. Linda wore a gown covered in pearls and had her nails done in pure white with tiny crystals at the tips. The pictures were perfect. She looked like a fairy tale princess. But after the wedding, real life began. David would leave for work early and come home tired every evening. One night, he dropped his bag and said softly, "Babe, please get me a glass of water." Linda was on the couch scrolling through her phone. She raised her polished fingers, careful not to smudge her nails. "Oh my gosh, do you want to spoil my nails? I just did them this morning." David smiled weakly and fetched the water himself. At first, he found her behavior funny, even cute. He thought she just needed time to adjust to married life. But as days turned into weeks, he realized Linda never lifted a finger. If the generator went off, she'd say, "David, you know I can't touch that thing." My nails. If a plate broke, she'd gasp, "Oh, my nails." When clothes piled up, she would sigh dramatically. "Babe, do you expect me to wash with these nails? You want me to suffer?" David hired a cleaner to help, but Linda still did nothing. She spent her days making TikTok videos, taking selfies, and painting her nails different colors. Her obsession became worse when she discovered nail influencers online. She would spend hours watching them, copying their designs and saying, "Look at her nails. Mine are even better." David loved her, but his patience began to fade. One Saturday, his mother came from Nsukka to visit. Mama David was a humble woman with wrinkled hands and a heart full of wisdom. When she saw the house, she frowned. Clothes everywhere, dishes unwashed, the air smelling of perfume and nail polish remover. "Linda," she said gently, "come and help me in the kitchen, my daughter." Linda didn't even look up from her phone. "Mama, I can't." "My nails will get dirty." Mama looked at her in disbelief. "But you're the wife of the house, my dear." Linda giggled. "Mama, these hands are for Instagram, not firewood." David's face burned with embarrassment. He tried to change the topic, but his mother shook her head sadly. That evening, she pulled him aside and whispered, "My son, beauty without wisdom is like a pot without food. It looks fine, but feeds no one." David didn't reply, but the words stayed in his heart. The next day, Mama quietly left, her face filled with disappointment. Linda didn't even notice. She was busy fixing a broken nail. By the time David returned from dropping his mother at the park, something inside him had changed. He began to see Linda not as the queen he married, but as a woman who cared more about her reflection than her reality. And while Linda continued to live in her glittering world of selfies, hashtags, and nail polish, she didn't realize that the foundation of her marriage was already starting to crack. One careless word, one broken plate, one "oh my nails" at a time. The months after David's mother's visit felt heavier than before. The air in the house was often silent, thick with unspoken words. David still loved Linda deeply, but the excitement that once filled their home had turned into quiet frustration. Linda, however, didn't seem to notice. Her world revolved around her mirror, her phone, and her nails. She spent most of her days lying on the couch, watching makeup tutorials or showing off her outfits online. Every afternoon, the sound of delivery bikes echoed at their gate. "Food is here," Linda would shout happily, rushing out with her long nails clicking like claws on her phone screen. She was addicted to ordering food: jollof rice, pepper soup, suya, shawarma, anything as long as she didn't have to cook. David would come home after long hours at work, tired and sweaty, his shirt clinging to his back. He'd drop his bag and smile softly. "Babe, what's for dinner?" Without looking up from her phone, Linda would reply, "I ordered from Spice Hub. It should be here soon." "I got us fried rice and chicken," David sighed. "Again?" "Linda, can't you cook something for us at least once in a while?" Her expression changed immediately. She sat up, frowning. "Cook? With these nails? David, do you even understand how much I spend to maintain them? Do you want me to ruin them with heat and smoke from the kitchen?" "Linda," he said quietly, "I didn't marry you for your nails. I married you for companionship, for partnership. Sometimes I just want a home-cooked meal. That's all." But Linda snapped back sharply. "You're complaining because I order food? Do you know how many women wish their husbands ate restaurant food every day? Please, don't stress me." She turned up the volume on her phone and ignored him. David stared at her for a long time before walking away silently. The delivery man arrived soon after. Linda collected the food, took pictures for Instagram, perfectly arranging the plates before eating. She captioned it, #dinner with my king, even though her husband was in the bedroom, eating quietly without a word. That was how their evenings went. Cold meals and colder silences. A few weeks later, David invited his business partners home for dinner. It was an important meeting, a chance to secure a big electrical contract that could change their lives. "Babe," he said carefully, "I need your help. Please make something special that night. I want them to see the warmth of our home," Linda groaned. "David, you know I don't do kitchen work." Can't we just order? No, Linda, he said firmly. This is important. Please, just this once. She folded her arms, glaring at him. Fine, I'll see what I can do, but she didn't. On the evening of the dinner, Linda spent the entire day doing her nails and makeup. She painted them a glittery silver to match her mood. By the time the guests arrived, the kitchen was empty. No food, no aroma, just the faint smell of nail polish in the air. David's face turned pale. Linda, where's the food? He whispered in panic. Linda shrugged casually. Relax. I ordered Chinese. It'll be here any minute. The guest smiled politely, pretending not to notice the awkward tension. But when the delivery man finally arrived, drenched in sweat and holding plastic takeaway packs, their smiles faded. One of them chuckled nervously. Ah, David, even your wife believes in outsourcing? Everyone laughed, except David. He forced a smile, but his heart sank. Later that night, after the guests left, he walked into their bedroom, defeated. Linda, you embarrassed me today. Just once I asked you to cook, not because I wanted food, but because I wanted effort. Linda stood before the mirror, blowing on her fresh coat of nail polish. David, stop overreacting. You're always too serious. I can't destroy my nails just because you want stew and rice. David stared at her, silent. Then, quietly, he said, One day, Linda, these nails you love so much will be the reason you lose everything. Linda rolled her eyes, laughing mockingly. Lose what? Please, I'm living my best life. But the truth was already waiting for her. Sharp, painful, and closer than she imagined. The signs came slowly, like cracks spreading through glass. David had always been a strong man, hardworking, honest, and calm. But months of carrying the home alone began to wear him down. His small electrical business was struggling. Some clients owed him money, and a major project he had invested in got cancelled unexpectedly. Bills piled up, rent was due, the generator broke down. But through it all, Linda didn't change. Every morning, she still woke up late, spent hours painting her nails, filming videos, and ordering expensive meals. She didn't even notice the worry lines deepening on David's face. One evening, as he sat quietly at the edge of the bed, his phone buzzing with unpaid bills, he said softly, Linda, things are not going well. I need your help. Maybe you can pause your nail appointments for a while and help me save money. She looked up sharply from her phone, her eyes narrowing. Pause my nails. David, are you serious? My nails are part of who I am. You want me to walk around looking broke? Linda, we are broke, he said gently, almost pleading. We can't keep living like this. Please, understand. She rolled her eyes. You're just being dramatic. Things will sort themselves out. They always do, but things didn't sort themselves out. They got worse. A few weeks later, David collapsed at work. The heat, the stress, and the sleepless nights had finally caught up with him. His colleagues rushed him to the hospital, where he was admitted for exhaustion. When Linda got the call, she sighed deeply. Oh no, not again. This man worries too much. She didn't rush to the hospital immediately. She had just finished doing her nails that morning and didn't want to ruin the fresh polish. She arrived later in the evening, dressed in a tight red dress, her nails sparkling under the fluorescent lights. David lay weakly on the bed, his eyes tired but relieved to see her. Linda, he whispered, I've been thinking a lot. If anything happens to me, will you be okay? She laughed awkwardly. Stop talking like that, Joe. You'll be fine. You're just tired. But he wasn't smiling. The next morning, the doctor called her aside. He was a kind elderly man with glasses perched low on his nose. Madam, your husband is not only suffering from stress, he said gently. He also has mild food poisoning, likely from contaminated foods, maybe takeout or unclean restaurants. He needs rest and home-cooked meals for a while. Linda blinked, unimpressed. Food poisoning? That can't be true. I eat out all the time and nothing is wrong with me. David just has a weak stomach. He's being dramatic as usual. The doctor frowned slightly. Madam, this is not about drama. He needs proper meals, fresh food, cooked at home. His body is tired. Linda forced a fake smile and nodded politely. But as soon as the doctor walked away, she muttered under her breath, "Cook at home? With these nails? Impossible." That evening, David looked at her and said weakly, "Linda, did the doctor tell you what he said?" She brushed her hair back casually. "He said you should rest and stop eating junk, that's all." "You'll be fine," David sighed. "He said I need home-cooked meals, Linda. Real food. Please, help me." Just for a while, Linda stared at him like he had asked for the impossible. "David, you know I can't. My nails will be ruined. You're overreacting." "Linda, I'm sick," he said, his voice breaking. "Please, I just need something warm, something made by you." "Then order from Food Palace," she snapped. "I'm not your housemaid." David's eyes filled with quiet pain. He turned away from her, too weak to argue. That night, he couldn't eat. The smell of restaurant food made him nauseous. Linda, on the other hand, took selfies beside his hospital bed, posting captions like #GetWellSoonMyKing, while ignoring the real man who was fading in front of her. When David was finally discharged, the doctor repeated his advice firmly. "Please, madam, your husband must eat healthy home-cooked meals and rest. If not, he could collapse again." Linda nodded half-heartedly. "Yes, doctor, we'll do that." But she didn't mean it. At home, she went back to her usual life: deliveries, selfies, and nail care. She even complained that the hospital smell had made her nails lose their shine. David watched her quietly, the love in his heart slowly turning into sorrow. One night, after another argument about food, he sat alone on the balcony, staring at the stars. His body was tired, but his spirit was more tired. He thought about his mother's words, "Beauty without wisdom is like a pot without food." Tears rolled down his cheeks. He still loved Linda, but love alone couldn't feed him, couldn't heal him, and couldn't fix a woman who refused to see. The next morning, Linda woke up to silence. David's side of the bed was empty. On the table was an envelope, a letter. Her hands trembled as she tore it open. "Linda, I've tried my best. I've begged. I've pleaded. I've endured. But I can't keep living with someone who refuses to care. This marriage feels like a one-man journey. I need peace, and I can't find it here. When you learn that love is more than looks and nails, maybe life will smile on you again. David." She ran outside in panic, calling his name. "David! David!" But he was gone. The house that once echoed with laughter now felt empty, painfully empty. The silence was louder than her pride. Linda never believed David would actually leave her. For weeks after he walked out, she stayed confident, almost proud. "He'll come back," she told herself each night as she lay on their bed. "He loves me too much. He just needs a few days to cool off," but a few days turned into a few weeks. And then, silence. Every morning, she tried calling him, first calmly, then desperately. His phone would ring, but he never picked up. By the third week, the line stopped connecting entirely. Linda sat on the edge of the bed, her phone clutched tightly, her long nails tapping nervously on the screen. The same nails she once flaunted proudly now trembled as her world began to shift beneath her feet. "David," she whispered into the phone one night, her voice cracking. "Please, just talk to me. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean it." But there was no answer, only the endless beep of disconnection. 2 months had gone and there was no word from David. It finally dawned on her that David had left and will never come back. She sat on the floor, clutching her chest, tears streaming down her face. Her precious nails, those shining symbols of pride, were all she had left. And for the first time, she wished she could tear them off, just to feel something real again. But that was only the beginning of her pain. It was a bright Monday morning when a white van pulled into their compound. 2 men stepped out wearing bank uniforms. "Good morning, madam," one of them said politely. "We're from Unified Bank. We're here for the vehicle registered under Mr. David Okafor." Linda frowned. "I don't understand." "That's my husband's car." "Yes, ma'am," the man replied, checking his clipboard. The loan repayment is 5 months overdue. The bank is reclaiming the vehicle. Her heart dropped. Loan? What loan? David never told me anything about a loan. I'm sorry, ma'am, the man said quietly. Please, open the gate. Linda stood frozen, tears filling her eyes as they drove the car away. The same car she had once refused to wash because of her nails. Gone. She sat on the front steps for hours, staring at the empty parking space. For the first time, she realized how little she knew about the man she married, and how much she had taken for granted. The second blow came just 2 weeks later. That afternoon, a knock echoed through the house. The landlord stood at the door, arms folded, face stern. Good afternoon, madam. I've been patient enough. Your rent expired 2 months ago. Linda blinked, trying to stay calm. My husband handles all that, sir. He'll sort it out soon. The landlord sighed. Madam, I've tried, but I can't wait any longer. If you can't pay by the end of the month, you'll have to leave. She tried calling David again. Nothing. That night, she sat alone at the dining table, the same table where she once refused to cook, where David had begged her for a simple, home-cooked meal. Her stomach growled, but she had no appetite. She hadn't eaten since morning, not because she was dieting this time, but because she had no money to order food. She opened the fridge. Empty. Not a single plate of food. Just bottles of nail polish and a forgotten can of juice. For the first time, Linda realized she couldn't even boil rice if she wanted to. She didn't know where David kept the gas lighter or how to turn it on. She broke down and cried. The next morning, she packed a small bag and took a bus to Inugu, where David's mother lived. She remembered the old woman's kind face from their wedding visit. Maybe she would help. Maybe David had gone there. The journey felt endless. When she finally arrived, she knocked softly on the gate. David's mother opened it, her expression stiff. Good afternoon, Mama, Linda said quickly. Please, I'm looking for David. Have you seen him? The older woman's eyes softened slightly, but her voice was firm. Linda? You mean my son who was sick, begging for your care? The same one you left hungry? Tears welled up in Linda's eyes. Mama, please, I've been trying to reach him. I don't know where he is. His mother shook her head. I haven't seen him in months. The last time we spoke, he told me he was going somewhere far away to start afresh. He said he couldn't live with someone who loved her nails more than her husband. Linda's lips trembled. Please, Mama, help me find him. I need to see him, to tell him I'm sorry. But the old woman simply sighed. If he wants to be found, he will find you. Go home, Linda. The gate closed gently, leaving Linda outside, alone, broken, and lost. Weeks passed. Her savings dried up. The landlord's deadline came and went. One morning, she returned from a fruitless search for work to find her clothes thrown outside. The locks had been changed. Linda sat on the ground, hugging her bag, tears streaming down her face as people walked past without looking twice. She had no one to call, nowhere to go. She sold her jewelry, her phone, even her beloved nail kits just to eat. But hunger doesn't wait. And soon, even that money was gone. Her once perfect hands became rough and bruised. The nails that once glistened like glass were gone, bitten, broken, ugly. And one evening, sitting by the roadside with a small bag of clothes beside her, she whispered to herself, Oh, David, you were right. I lost everything because I couldn't lift a finger when it mattered. Her stomach rumbled again, but there was no food, only regret. As darkness settled over the city, Linda looked down at her short, bare nails and smiled bitterly. They were finally gone. The same nails she once worshipped, the same nails that had cost her everything. Moral love isn't measured by beauty, money, or fancy looks. It's measured by care, patience, and sacrifice. Linda lost everything, not because she was beautiful, but because she was blind. When pride sits where love should be, even the strongest home will crumble. No matter who you are or what you have, never let vanity make you forget the people who truly matter. Because when life strips everything away, it's not your nails or clothes that remain. It's your heart. If this story touched your heart, Don't just scroll away. Click that subscribe button right now and join our storytelling family. We share powerful African stories that inspire, teach, and move the soul. So go ahead, subscribe, like, and share this video. And remember, every story you hear here leaves a piece of wisdom behind. See you in the next story.